Let me say good evening to all of us and welcome us to the Muskogee City Council meeting for October 24th, 2022. One of the things that we take great pride in as the mayor's office and a city council is to take time to acknowledge the young people who participate in the BizTown program that is sponsored by Junior Achievement. So many times a year, they have different students to come up, and those students get to actually be the mayor of BizTown. And I was so fortunate this time, this last cycle, to be there when we acknowledged those junior mayors, or I'm not going to say junior mayors, mayor for the day at BizTown. And so we have two students here tonight from Hilldale Elementary School, and I'm going to call them up one at a time. The first one is Mavery Beveridge. So Mavery was elected, right? You all had to run an election. Mavery was elected to be the mayor of BizTown for her class on the day that she went. You want to tell us about, what was your campaign slogan? Vote for Mavery?
I just told them that I would be a good mayor and I would have a good speech at the beginning, and our town would be a great town if I would be mayor.
All right. So, and Mavery was elected, and how much time did you guys spend?
I spent, on my speech, I spent 3 days writing it.
Oh, good. And what did you learn from being at BizTown?
That when we're older, we will have to pay our bills how we're supposed to and write checks.
Just like a bureaucrat at an early age in life, so that's very good. Help me celebrate Mavery Beveridge. Let's get this out of the way. It's heavier than it looks. Mavery and I are going to take a picture together, and then I'm going to invite those of the council who'd like to come down to take a picture after that. Any members of the council who'd like to come down? In the same week, also from Hilldale Elementary School, we had another BizTown mayor, Kenley Moore. So Kenley, I'm debating if I should ask you different questions since you already heard the questions that I was going to ask. But I will ask you to tell everybody what was your campaign slogan and what made you, what do you think made you win as mayor of BizTown?
My slogan was, don't blow it, vote for choose Kenley Moore. And the choose was spelled CHEWS.
Choose.
Like bubblegum.
And tell us why you did. There was a reason why you said don't blow it, right? You had what'd you give away?
I gave away bubblegum.
Bubblegum.
Like suckers, kind of.
Like suckers. You gave away suckers. So what did you learn about running the city and being a mayor? And
I learned that there's a lot of things to do. A lot. To be a parent.
What was your favorite thing?
Being in charge.
Big boss. Big boss. All right. So Kenley, we'll do the same thing. We'll take a photo with you, and then we'll invite the members of the council down, okay? Members of the council who want to come down? That's a good idea. Let's get all of the other mayor and the assistant principal and the principal, Miss Principal Billiard and Assistant Principal Ham. Why don't you join us for the group photo?
I was in charge of the water department on that day. No. That was fun. The whole student council, we busted up, assumed the roles of running the city.
Oh.
We also want to take this opportunity to invite all of us tomorrow to the Ernest Evans Memorial Dedication, which will be at the Depot Green Park at 10 o'clock a.m. Ernest Evans was a World War II veteran who went to Muskogee High, and we're recognizing him by placing a monument temporarily tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. at Depot Greens. The public is definitely invited. At some point, we'll have a more permanent place where we have a Veterans Memorial Plaza. We're working on that now. But the temporary dedication will be tomorrow at 10 o'clock a.m. at Depot Greens, and we're encouraging all of the public to please attend. We will now begin our meeting for the October 24th Muskogee City Council meeting with the invocation by Councilor Alex Reynolds, followed by the flag salute. Let us stand.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, please forgive us of our sins, those which we have knowingly committed and which we have committed without knowledge. Please help us and guide us today, Lord, as we do the people's business and we watch over and guide us, make good decisions. Please help steer us in the direction that's positive for our city. Please protect us from any wrongdoers or people that would have ill will toward our city or toward the good things we're trying to accomplish here in Muskogee, Oklahoma. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Let's look to the flag. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
Herlin Boyati Craig.
Here.
Thank you. We will now consider the approval of the minutes for the City Council regular session October 10th, 2022. Do we have any corrections to the minutes, or do we have a motion to approve?
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as said. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Herlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will now consider the consent agenda, which consists of items 1 through 5. Are there any items to be moved to the regular agenda, or do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Move for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion?
I thought we removed the number 5.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Hurley and Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now consider item number 6.
Hold a public hearing and consider a request by Daisy Paisley Flower LLC, applicant for a specific use permit to allow for a medical marijuana dispensary within the C1 local commercial district, more specifically, a property located at 1601 East Okmulgee Street, or take other necessary action.
We will now open the public hearing. Ms. Salix.
So it's actually going to be Katrina. That's
Thank you.
presenting this evening.
Ms. Bodenhammer.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. This is an application filed by Daisy, I've got to say it right, Daisy Paisley Flower LLC for a specific use permit for a marijuana dispensary located at 1603 East Okmulgee Avenue. And as you can see, it's the corner lot. It's in a strip mall. The marked buildings are zoned C1. There's residential around those building sites. And again, the highlighted area is where the proposed dispensary will be located. That is the strip center. This is facing east. To the north is State Farm, facing west, and residential to the south. The Planning Commission heard this on October the 17th, this application. They denied the request, and they denied it based on the following: the proximity to residential homes, schools, churches, and a nursing home, limited parking at the strip mall, a concern about traffic, increased foot traffic leading to a decrease in neighborhood safety, a possible decrease in property value for surrounding homes and businesses, the possibility of an offensive smell, and the saturation of medical marijuana dispensaries in the city of Muskogee. One thing I'd like to point out is that the Planning Commission had the opportunity to request any additional studies. It did not, but the council, per our ordinances, is also free to do that, or to have this item returned to Planning Commission for further studies if there are any concerns. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Bodenhammer. We have one resident signed to speak to this item tonight while the public hearing is open, Ms. Beverly Riley. And please forgive me if I didn't say your name correctly. If you'll come to the microphone and give us your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
My name is Beverly Riley, but that's fine. I live at 3510 Irving Street here in Muskogee, but I own property at 1609 and 1611 East Okmulgee. The two buildings are currently occupied by businesses, Sofetch Dog Grooming, and an insurance and beauty salon. I'm here tonight to voice my disapproval to issue a specific use of property at 1603 to allow medical marijuana dispensary. It is currently a zoning of C1 local commercial. The property that I own at 1609 and 1611 East Okmulgee was built by my dad, Orville Carter, back in 1958 for the purpose of a barbershop and a beauty shop, and I inherited it in 2006 upon his death. These businesses were developed by individuals that wanted the neighborhood necessities of life to support the needs of homeowners and the area, and included a pharmacy, several doctors, dental offices, and a local grocery store. Many other professional occupants have followed in the years. My concern for rezoning was threefold. First, how it would affect and degrade the family neighborhood. The area is surrounded by single-family dwellings on all sides, north, south, east, and west. And within 3 blocks, there are 3 schools, including AR, St. Joe, and within 2 blocks is Whittier Elementary. There are 3 churches and a nursing home. As a retired educator of 40 years, I did my student teaching, and I first taught at Whittier, only 2 blocks away. My teaching career my purpose was to keep kids safe and secure, influence healthy education, and be a positive influence in their lives. I still want to continue being a positive influence in their lives by protecting these neighborhoods. This area, as I said, was all residential. There are 3 marijuana businesses, medical marijuana businesses, about a mile east, and 2 were there, and 1 is west at 60 of here, within a mile. So I'm kind of nervous. I'm sorry. I've never done this before.
Take your time, man.
Okay. Second reason for deny zoning change is parking. It's a serious concern. There are 7 small shops in this strip mall, and there are only 9 to 10 parking places. 3 curb cutouts. When the city widened Okmulgee, they widen it to 4 lanes from 2 lanes, and so therefore they put in these curb cuts to prevent people from driving so fast and so forth through there. So it's already a busy thoroughfare. And then the third reason to deny, in my opinion, was that there's 44 medical marijuana dispensaries in our city. These businesses, including the numbers, the bright lights, the downgrading of the value of buildings, smell and attracting more medical dispensaries than any other state in the United States. I mentioned smell. One of my favorite businesses was Cookie Bedazzled. It was on York and Gibson Street. And the lady who had that was open for about 10 years. And she closed because another medical marijuana store went in next to her, and she said the smell affected her products, and so therefore she could not stay in business there. So these being my 3 reasons, I sincerely ask that you say no to dispensaries, medical dispensaries around that neighborhood. Those children are walking through there all the time. There are homes behind it. In fact, when I was just an infant, I lived on Baltimore, which is the street just behind that. So I have connections with that neighborhood too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The applicant, Daisy Paisley Flower LLC, also wishes to speak to us tonight. I'm going to invite them to the podium and give us your name and your address, and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here.
Give us your name and your
My
address.
name is Nicholas Philip Yukich III.
And I'm Janelle Stewart, Yukich.
We live at 3501 Oklahoma Street.
Thank you. Just
right
be
there
sure to
on our
speak
right.
to the microphone so we can
Yes, sir.
record you.
4031 Oklahoma Street, Muskogee.
Thank you.
Welcome.
In retort, I understand the lady's comments. I understand her concerns. There's a future, though, not the past. I didn't touch marijuana until I was 32 years old. I'm a retired Marine. I'm service-connected, medically disabled. It's great for my TBI. It's even better for my PTSD. I don't have to take a lot of pills, and I'm really appreciative of that. As a Marine, I can tell you flat out, I stand here today with a level of it's anxiety because I do it, because as a Marine, we're just like marijuana. That's just off the chart. You wouldn't think of it as a Marine. Anybody in there as a Marine will tell you do not touch marijuana. It's helped me so far. Our goal there is not to have a dispensary, as it was stated, with all the neon lights and things. We won't even have a whole lot of signs. We actually want to do things by appointment. Even some massage therapy. It's actually going to be next to a massage parlor. There's a massage place next to it. We've already talked to them. There's also a boutique in there. And there is a lot of places there. In regards to the parking, we have 2.5 spots in the front. 3 depends on whether they got 2.5 or 3 over. And it is awkward. But there's more than 10 on the west side that's overflow parking, and that's what it's there for. We also have 2 in the back that we have authorization to that are ours. We will utilize them to make ours in the front, make them available to people. In regards to foot traffic, I mean, there's a sidewalk. We're proposing to lift the sidewalk tonight. That's what it's there for. And as Muskogee, you want to build Muskogee. You want to bring foot traffic. You want to see people out walking around and about. That's just my point. Whether it's going to get marijuana or going down to Casey's to get a Slurpee. That's 7-Eleven, I'm sorry. But as far as the smell's concerned, we were using airtight jars. We're a dispensary. A lot of places are dispensaries with processings, and they also have grows. When you have processing and grows, that's where the tremendous smell is, especially the grow. You'll smell the grow from miles away. In regards to a dispensary, we're more looking towards just basics of what we need, creams, things like that. We're not looking to go full blown. Matter of fact, most of the proceeds we generate, I'm going to donate to the veterans organizations. One of the other plans is you'll probably smell some pizza, because I got 2 pizza ovens and I make the best pizza in Muskogee. We're originally from Pennsylvania, but we're here. Oklahoma does great things for veterans. That's why we're here. Muskogee's got a great VA hospital. I'm glad we saved it. Is there any other concerns that I missed on this? But traffic, I'm a military policeman, 12 years. Accident reconstructionist, probable point of minimum speed of probable point of impact, PPOI. If there's another one in here, you know what I mean. That's where you take glass and stuff flies off a car. You can tell how fast it was going when it finally hit. But one of the things you need to do, we also did an accident, was traffic analysis. Traffic analysis is a major thing out there to run one and do a study on it, but I feel if you have businesses, that's a business area. You zone it C1, you want traffic to go through there. So we want to reduce traffic. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. So if we're building Muskogee, why do we want to stop foot and traffic? What I have here is I have a list of all the churches and the school, Whittier. Also got JR or AR, 1,741 feet above the 1,000 foot standard by the state. We also got 1,054 feet, which is above it. Restoration Church over 1,000 feet. Christ Kingdom Church over 1,400 feet. Cornerstone Church over 300 feet, meets the 300 feet city requirement. And Broadway Manor Health more than 700 feet, meets the 300 feet city standard. And that is from Google Maps, our source. If anybody would like to have a copy, we brought plenty. But I believe that's it. We're here humbly wanting to be a part of the community and trying to do something. I really don't have a lot that I could do. I coached the football team last year, flag football. We won a 4th, 5th grade championship, Persia. That was great, probably one of the best years I ever had in my life in sports. But no, we're here. We're here to stay. That dispensary will help us stay. We're going to bring more income. That's one thing. I don't think medical marijuana is going away. So one other thing. There is one. I'm glad you said that. It is a mile to the east, a few of them. And there's a mile to the north, and a few to the mile to the south, and a few to the mile to the west. In other words, it's a 1 mile radius, as I put in the original report in my application. We formed our Daisy Paisley Flower, and I only got 18 seconds, with the intention to find a better place because there is a heavy saturation, 10, 15 in one place, and we found a place where there's a 1 mile radius, it's all residential, people do walk, and we're going to be having pizza and things like that we're going to be giving away. Why wouldn't you want that? It's a good thing. But for the people that need to go a mile, that don't have a vehicle, we're going to be for them. One thing I know, there's a lot of walkers. I see people everywhere.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Roger that, sir. Semper Fi.
Do we have any questions for the presenters?
Can you elaborate on what you said? Are you going to be by appointment only?
We're going to be appointment only. We don't want the big sign where we got a lot of traffic. I really don't want. I don't have patience to deal with 1 gram and things like that. People coming in looking simply to get high. Well, we're looking for veterans that want masotherapy, that want the cream, somebody to work on them, things like that.
Cancer patients.
Cancer patients, things like that. Her mother was a cancer patient, and just these experiences become something that was it's become pretty personal. Because, like I said, the person handed me a joint for the first time, and I looked at him like it was a Martian. I mean, it was like the Twilight Zone. And it was because I was taking pills that the VA was giving me, 20, 30 at a time. But yes, we're looking, I'm wanting to help other veterans like me. I'm not trying to give blunts to little kids. Trust me, I'm the last person to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the applicants? Thank you. No other residents have signed to speak to this item. We will now close the public hearing.
If we could have a copy of what you were going to pass out, just one for the record, that'd be great.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question for Katrina.
I do too. Ms. Boldenhammer, if you come to the podium, please. Deputy Mayor.
Katrina, are there any state statutes, laws coming into effect in November that may affect our decision-making when it comes to dispensaries or grows?
Yes, there are several proposed statutes that are coming into effect in November and some in June. They are continually being rewritten. There are different versions. One of the versions that may go into effect the 1st of November is that we cannot show prejudice or unfavorableness toward a marijuana business any more than we would any other legitimate business like a pharmacy. So that is something to be concerned about.
So, in your opinion to this council, how will that affect a decision that we make on the 24th of October?
What you're looking at is it's zoned correctly. The applicant has picked an area that's correctly zoned for this type of a business. Would you allow a pharmacy there? Would you allow a flower shop there? Would you allow a business there that's licensed by the state?
Thank you.
And is appropriate.
So, Ms. Bodenhammer, if you will please for us, you read a list of reasons that the Planning Commission said no.
Yes.
Will you read those again to me, please?
Yes, sir. There are concerns that lead to the denial, proximity to residential homes, schools, children, churches, a nursing home, parking at the strip mall, increased foot traffic leading to a decrease in neighborhood safety, a decrease in property value for surrounding homes and businesses, offensive smell, and the saturation of medical marijuana dispensaries in the city of Muskogee.
So I don't know what the will of the council is, with all deference and respect to these residents who are for or against it, but I do think that we may need to send this back to the Planning Commission, only because we have to be certain, according to Deputy Mayor's comments and concerns, that we're not arbitrary and capricious in how we approve dispensaries in particular. I understand the concerns that people have when it comes to grows. But dispensaries, and you and Mr. Tucker can correct me, we haven't vetted them the way this Planning Commission has done. I don't remember hearing this list of reasons without them having done their work.
Yes, sir.
And so my concern is if this is their concern, then they need to present their work to us in a way that we have some evidentiary basis to say no. Otherwise, I don't see how we can't say yes. So my recommendation, if the council will support it, is that we send this back to the Planning Commission for further review. That'd be my recommendation.
Second.
I don't know about the rest of the council.
I have a quick question.
Yes, Mr.
Yes.
Well, you were saying as of November 1st that the state is basically going to say we have to treat a dispensary in a similar position as a pharmacy?
That's an example. So as any other legitimate business?
They like that now.
So we would need to, so will that keep this same special use permit, or will that knock the special use permit out?
No, we can still, as a city, require a specific use permit, as do a lot of other cities for particular types of businesses. And that includes things like prisons, crematories, any type of business that's not your standard run-of-the-mill, that may have particular issues like odor control. For instance, a marijuana grow facility will have issues that maybe a 7-Eleven won't.
As you guys know, I'm a little uncomfortable with the special use permit. It just seems like the citizens who showed up to speak, they make complete sense, and I understand their property rights and their proximity to the location. What a nice couple that's shown up that wants to invest in our community. You have to look at the reasons that they're wanting to get involved. They're very admirable. I'm sure they'd run a great business. It puts us in an extremely difficult position to where we're having to pick winners and losers. I don't think that's the role that we need to be in. This is extremely awkward for us to hear each person's individual pitch, and then we turn around and vote, oh, this one might work, that one may not. I don't see how we can say no to these people.
And that was my concern for sending it back to the planning commission, because I've never heard this list of explanations from a planning commission before. And so I think they need to spend some time with staff to figure out what has been the precedent specifically in terms of dispensaries. And that would be my recommendation, that it goes back to them for review, further review. Any other discussion? We had a motion and a second to that effect, but if there's a different persuasion,
Can I
certainly.
say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I?
Ms. Flannery, Hilton Flannery.
Okay. I happen to know the Cookie Bedazzle situation, and she did have to move because, and that was a dispensary, but it came through the walls.
Mm-hmm.
And she's actually my daughter's mother-in-law, so I know that to be true, that it did come through those walls. And I know where this is located. There is a clothing store right next door where I buy my clothes, actually. But you know, I'm not a person who knows a whole lot about marijuana, but I know growth facilities. If you're under one roof, like that strip shopping center there on York Street, they could smell marijuana through those walls. So anyway.
Well, and that's also one of the things that you might want the planning commission to look at, is the odor control system that the applicants are planning on using.
So I think that's why we send it back, for them to consider and evaluate accordingly, and then come back to Councilor Reynolds' point. We make a adjudicated decision based on facts at the time.
Say one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
The traffic control, I know it's hard to get a parking place there. It is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to check that out too, the traffic situation, because it is very limited with parking there. And that's another thing I think should be checked out.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak, please?
Yes, Ms. Boyati Craig.
I think we have to be very, very careful about decisions that we make when we have an area that's zoned C1. We have a potential consumer that wants to put a business in a C1 place. I don't think that it is the business of the council to make disparity decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in agreement with the mayor that we send this back to the planning commission, because it does put us.
Let me say to audience, please, we're in a session. Thank you.
It does put us in a tough situation, so to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Boyati Craig. Any other comments from the council? We have a motion and a second to return this to planning commission for further review. Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig,
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery,
I'm voting for it to go to the planning, back to planning and
Yes,
zone,
ma'am.
right? Yes.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Jones,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
No.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item is referred back to the planning commission by vote of the council. Item number 7.
Consider approval of ordinance number 4115A, amending the City of Muskogee Code of Ordinances, Chapter 82, Utilities, Article 6, Refuse Collection, Section 82-735, Definitions, Section 82-742, Collection Carts, Owner Responsibility, Section 82-744, Extra Collection Waste, Solid Waste, Unlawful Possession of Carts, Termination of Service, Section 82-747, Return Pickups, Section 82-748, Syringe Disposal, Section 82-749, Collection of Charges, Guidelines, providing for repeal or severability, and setting an effective date, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Rigney.
So the change to the ordinance is removing the section about the 5 bags outside of the carts, as we spoke about last week. And I went through my presentation, but I'll be happy to go through it again briefly and answer any follow-up questions we may have. So as we've mentioned, this is the final phase of the full implementation of our automated trash collection system. What we want to do is improve the aesthetics of the city and the efficiency of our sanitation department, and we can improve our public image by doing this. So the reasons that we're going to talk about are health and safety concerns, public image, cost effectiveness, stormwater concerns, and how we can optimize our sanitation department by reducing the number of trucks it takes to collect refuse. So we want to talk about employee health. There's all kinds of risks associated with coming into contact with the bags of trash. And by moving towards the additional cart system, we can take that contact out. We have some ergonomic concerns as well as far as the safety of picking up the bags versus using the automated trucks. Additionally, we want to talk about public health and safety. All of the hazards we expose our employees to, we would be exposing the public to. This is a good way to improve our aesthetics as a community. We would be keeping stray animals from getting into the bags from tearing and spreading trash across the street. And one thing to clarify is this additional cart, the additional cost of the cart is $10 per month for the citizen. So what that is the rate that it costs to dump that cart.
And Mr. I need to clarify, that's only if you need the extra cart. It is not for every citizen, correct?
Correct, yes. So a scenario would be if you are continually having more trash than your standard poly cart can fit, instead of putting bags out, you would call our Public Works Department and request a second cart. That cart would be $10 a month from that point until you decided you did not want that cart any longer.
So what do they pay now when they said, you know, I got 2 or 3 extra bags? What are we charging them now?
The bag pickup right now is part of the all-inclusive cost of getting one poly cart, which is $19.28 per month. One thing that it's important to note, there are already people who pay for that second cart, and right now they are paying $19.28 a month for the additional cart on top of the $19.28 they pay right now for their standard cart. So by moving to this, we would be correcting the bag issue on the streets. But what we would be doing for the 1,000 plus citizens who already are getting the second cart, we would be reducing their rate as well. So there would be people who save $9.28 a month that already have that second cart. And if they had a third cart, they would be saving another $9.28 per month. So we are accommodating citizens who have been doing this and keeping this standard of using an additional cart already.
And how much do the cart cost the city?
I can tell you how much it costs to dump the cart. It changes with how much we buy. So the more we buy, the cheaper the cart is. But what it is it's paid for over time through the bill.
Okay.
So, but it does cost $10 to dump a yard of waste at the landfill, which is how we came up with the $10 per month, because that's how much collectively over the month a cart is in volume of waste. Did I answer that clearly?
I understand, okay. Yes.
Well, yes.
What about, I know I asked before about Christmas. I asked about that because during December, you can have additional trash. And then what about leaves? Like say when people do their leaves and they have 10 bags of leaves.
So that is done by our environmental control department and will not be affected in any way by this program.
Okay.
We have some stormwater concerns as well. Getting the bags out of the street will cut down on things impeding our ditch lines. So our solution is to offer the second cart at the additional cart at the reduced rate of $10 for any additional cart. And once again, only about 15% of our citizens are putting out bags on a regular basis. which is about the same as the amount of citizens who currently have a second cart. Does anybody have any further questions?
So on those unforeseen events that we may have in life, I got guests for a couple of weeks. Normally, my one cart is enough. This trash round, I'm going to have extra bags. Is there anything, can we call in and get an extra route that week, or is there anything for, those situations where you may have, unusual amounts of trash, but it's not my norm on an ongoing basis?
Yes, there's going to be accommodations that we can make as this program develops and evolves. I don't have a great concrete answer for you right now on how we will handle that, but we will come up with one.
Avery, that's in the ordinance that you can get an extra pickup
for
that one-time fee.
Yes.
Thank you.
Say that into the microphone again, Mr. Rickey, so that the audience can hear the answer you gave, Deputy Mayor.
There is a contingency in the ordinance where you can get a one-time pickup to accommodate the concerns Councilman Reed brought up.
Thank you.
Is there a cost for that one-time pickup? That cost?
Yes. The actual, to say into the microphone, yes, it's for the actual cost.
I'm a little concerned. Often we have really good ideas that might lead to bad policy. And we've already have a city that suffers from a trash issue. I'm concerned that we're going to have a lot of people continuing to put trash in bags and not bothering to put them out, setting them on the side of their house where they're going to be torn up, as you're saying, and wind up in the water and the washing away. I had quite a few problems with this in some of the city lots. A particular, it was actually in Ward 3 that I helped one of a person that I know that's off of Boston Street. The people behind them got to where they weren't putting their trash out on the corner. They just started throwing them in the backyard. And they started against the back fence, and the homeowner had reached out and then eventually wound up with me and was asking me. And of course I reached out to, at the time, the Ivory Van, our great counselor Ivory Van, and of course, Ivory was on it. But what wound up happening is these folks started at the back fence was against the person's house who called, and all the trash was creating bugs and issues coming into their yard. And they went all the way to the back of the house, and then they came and they put another layer on it. And although we called code enforcement can't actually do anything unless it can be seen from a normal position. So this person had a stockade fence all the way around their yard, so it couldn't be seen. Now, you could walk up and look over the fence, or you could walk up and hold your camera over the fence, and what you would see is 6 or 8 levels of bags, the entire thing just laying there, composting and trashed in this backyard, to where it was a huge problem for everyone else in the surrounding area, but nothing could be done to get the homeowner to do anything about it. And it's still like that. If anyone would like to go by and take a look at it, it's pretty amazing. Just a scary thought that I don't see people will stop bagging things, and if they're not taking away in a convenient manner, kind of like the stuff that winds up getting stacked up everywhere, and then we have the community pickup day for the large items, it seems like that may also become a problem.
I know I'm not on the microphone, but if you give us that address, we'd investigate that, try to figure out how to get that solved.
Okay, that's at the corner of Columbus and Boston. And you can't miss it. It's right behind the house Ivory loves so much with the flags.
Columbus and Boston go the same way?
Yes, Boston and it'd be right behind the convenience store, the house behind it on Boston, one more on Boston, then the next one on Columbus. So it'd be
Thank you. Do we have any further concerns from the council, or what is the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 7. Just before we do that, Mr. Rigney and Mr. Stewart, remind us how many free dump days we have per year?
7, I believe. We have 7 free dump days per year.
So we have 7 free dump days per year?
Yes, and we have the bulk waste program through our environmental control to get large items.
And we have the new recycle program
Yes.
as well.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we're clear, Mayor, we do have 7 free dump days. We also sponsor that cleanup week that we allow people to bring material down to our material yard and dump it right there, and then we just transfer it to the landfill. We have the bulk waste program, which you can access twice a year, once between January and July 1, and once between July 1 and November. We don't do December because that's all the holiday months. But that's where you can put 5 yards of trash or a dump truck load basically at the curb, and we'll pick that up as part of that $19.28. So there's plenty of ways to do it. Special waste, when people have, like when they move in, they'll call. We try to assist. We try to keep from going back and billing them. The whole intent is we know one way or another we're going to end up picking it up, whether it's back on the back roads or in the alleys or at the house. So we're trying to make it just as convenient as possible to the residents to do that. And then we're trying to ensure that we're taking care of our employees as well. Think of today. It's raining all day. They're on the back of the truck picking those bags up. And it's not a nice job, and it's a safety issue. So we're trying to do what many other communities have done. But the bottom line is, if you call Public Works, we'll come try to assist you, and we'll try to figure out how to make it work. And I think you guys all know that.
And we also want to remind those of us who are here watching, as well as thank the Public Works Department, because the reason we went to the mechanical vehicles was to move in the direction that we're going in now. And those mechanical vehicles have made a huge impact in terms of our quality of life here in the city of Muskogee. We have a motion and a second to approve item number 7. Further discussion?
Quick question here.
Yes, ma'am.
On the automated trash, will that be eliminating any positions? Because as you need more automated trucks, you don't need, how many men you got on the back of a truck?
Right now, any truck that is semi-automated will have one driver and one man on the back, and sometimes a second man on the back, so it could be a crew of 2 or 3. But to answer your question, this will not be eliminating any positions. We have plenty of things for those employees to do that are well within their job descriptions. We are constantly looking for drivers for sanitation. So this will not cost anybody any jobs, but will improve the quality of their jobs as they are now, and be a general improvement to the efficiency of our department.
And the automated truck versus 3 is 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, may we recognize?
Yes, Dr.
I just want to reiterate one time, because the concerns of some phone calls and emails I've received. If you're happy with your service right now and one canister's working, this is not going to change anything. Your cost isn't going to change, and you're not going to be charged $10 more. It's only if you need an extra cart that you get that fee. I think a lot of people were concerned that everyone's bill was going up. That's not the case. If you're happy with your service now, it's going to stay the same.
That is correct.
Thank you. Roll call.
Carlyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 7 passes. Item number 8.
Consider approval to submit an application for an Economic Development Administration grant to be used for a Muskogee Medical District encompassing approximately 75 acres within the southwest zone of the city, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Reeves.
Yes, Mayor. We have been working with Neighbors Building Neighbors to develop a EDA grant related to road construction, a detention pond, and 2 trails projects around the new 150-bed St. Francis Hospital. The construction projects are on Denver Street and from 40th to 32nd Street, which is approximately 2,750 linear feet of roadway, and it also includes stormwater, curb and gutter streets. 36th Street reconstruction from Denver to Okmulgee, which we will replace any bad sidewalks or improve any ADA sidewalks that would need to be installed on the project. The detention pond is to reduce peak flow from the hospital and the surrounding areas. We have had problems with that in the past, and so the detention pond would be a good idea. The trails projects are running on Denver Street Trail from Denver to 40th Street intersection. The 34th Street Trail would be Denver Street to Hatbox Trail, south of our line and west of 34th Street. This grant has previously been applied for last year, but didn't include near as many upgrades as we're doing right now. It just included 2 reconstruction projects of the streets. It did not include the trails project and the detention pond. We feel confident that this project will be approved this year due to the expansion of the hospital and the 150 beds related to it. This is a 80-20 split as far as the grant is concerned. 20% would be contributed by the city and 80% by the ADA grant fund. Staff does recommend approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Do we have any questions for Mr. Reeves concerning item number 8, or what is the will of the body?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 8. Further discussion? Roll call.
Pearland Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 8 passes. Item number 9.
Discuss and give direction to staff on proposed amendments to ordinance number 4154A relating to specific use permits.
That will be Ms. Alex or Ms. Bodenhammer.
Good evening, sir. That would be
Thank you.
pursuant to previous requests and directions by council. I've attempted to rewrite the specific use permit to make it more user-friendly for our citizens and for us. This is a work in progress. As I stated earlier, the marijuana laws in the state, a lot of them are changing November 1st. More changes are anticipated for June of 2023. The document that I passed around, the difference between the law that is written now, the ordinance that's written now for Muskogee, and this one is that we will make some revisions, such as part of the problem that we've had is people will come in, get their building permit or try to get their city license, pay that fee, and then try to get their specific use permit. It's causing a lot of confusion. People aren't sure what to do. They're paying money they shouldn't have to pay. For instance, if they pay $750 to get their city license, but they haven't got their specific use permit, that's like flushing $750 down the toilet, or building a business and then coming in later trying to get the specific use permit, or spending a lot of money remodeling. So what we're proposing with this rewrite is that the planning department, the director meets with the applicant, has a one-on-one meeting. They go through the plan, look at the property, look at the proposed usage of it, what type of marijuana facility, have any traffic studies conducted, any odor control things, any other issues they're concerned about for this particular type of business, or that would also involve things like crematories, airports, prisons, kennels, gun clubs, all of the other things that impact businesses and surrounding homeowners in a manner that's different than a regular business that goes in. This would also rewrite it to require that when the applicant files for a city license, they have already received their specific use permit. That is identifiable. It's a document. It's got a permit number on it attached to the city application, also displayed at all times, like a liquor license. Mm-hmm. To keep things smoother. Some of the things that are in here I had highlighted in different colors. I'm pointing out that these are certain provisions that were being proposed, but those are fluctuating with the law changes that are coming in. So that those are kind of being rewritten and are not solid. One thing I became aware of today is I had proposed that if for any reason the approved specific use does not begin operation or ceases operation for a period of 2 years, then the approval of the use shall be considered void and require another application. The state is now actually restricting that down to 90 days. So if there's an existing marijuana facility, it stops functioning for 90 days or its license expires, they don't get to keep their license. They have to start the application process over again. So that will be something for us to discuss. Do we do that? Do we restrict it down to the 90 days? And then what other things can we do that make this match the upcoming changes in the law and make it easier for the citizens and the council to come to a decision? And happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Ms. Boldenhammer on tonight? As she has said, this is a work in progress. She is going to continue to edit until we have a final draft to review. But in the meantime, do we have any discussion for her tonight?
So are we seeking to approve this, or are we just receiving a report on this?
My understanding was we're receiving a report.
Receiving a report with a document in work.
Yes, and any recommendations will be greatly appreciated.
Right, so this is a really good opportunity. You ask Planning Department, and Katrina was heading that up at the time and is the expert on this document, and we appreciate her working on it. You ask us to look over this, and so this is where we're at. And so if we needed any other feedback today or in the near future before we bring it back for consideration of adoption. So this is that opportunity. Thank you for making that really clear, that this is how we receive the feedback is today.
A couple of things I would like to say is thank you very much, Katrina. You've done a great job digging into this.
Thank you.
It's been extremely confusing, and we've tried to walk some people through, and we didn't know what we were doing, and you jumped right in there, and thank you so much. You've helped a lot of people who were extremely frustrated. She's done a lot of work, everybody, in trying to figure out how we do this and make it work. A couple of things I do want to point out. They were voting today in Washington, D.C., over legalization. I didn't get a chance to see what the outcome was today. Last week, Biden changed the laws on sentencing, so wiped out federal possession charges, and has encouraged all the state attorney generals to go back and wipe out possession charges as well for cannabis. So a lot of things are changing, as well as just a few days ago, Governor Stitt has added a special election coming up at the first of next year in March. I'm not exactly sure when, but they're going to be voting on a recreational cannabis bill. All polling on that is indicating that it will probably pass. So we're going to not only be dealing with the medical program, but it's also going to be a recreational program. And right now they're talking about putting them in the same program in the same shops. Other states have run two. They have a medical program and a rec. We don't know what the final outcome is. It'll be on the vote. But we've got a lot of things that are about to change. And I do just want to say thank you to you and Roy both, because there's a lot of stuff you guys have had to dig into and read and follow up with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, can I maybe recognize?
Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to say
Ms.
thank you,
McGee.
Katrina, for all the hard work that you put in. And I am especially grateful for making sure that we do it in order, where they do not have to pay the money, that they get their approval before they begin to make any fees. So therefore, we shouldn't run into any more conflict. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGee. And that is a discussion that we've had before.
Yes.
Yeah, how that impacts the applicants financially.
And this is ongoing work, so Ms. Boldenhammer, I'm assuming you'll get us a final draft for review in the near future.
Yes, sir.
And we will be glad to hear that at that time. So
Yes, sir. I can actually probably present that in a couple of weeks.
Mr. Mayor, can I just add
Yes.
one more request? You know, I understand, and please don't take this that I'm getting in the way of progress, getting in the way of money. That's not what I'm doing, but I want to make sure that there is a discussion that is also going on at the same time about our mapping and what areas that we will allow and we won't allow. I mean, you know, just because the state laws are changed, we still have to live here and live with it. And so, you know, I would like to see that conversation picks back up, you know, even with what may happen in March. You know, we got to still be a community that we can love and respect.
Yes, and sir, I have coming up on it will actually be the next city council is the proposed zoning change.
Thank you.
Restricting grows to agricultural areas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boldenhammer.
Thank you.
Item number 10.
Consider approval to apply matching grant funds for the Roxy Theater totaling $6,400 or take other necessary action.
Ms. Sweezy?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is for the Roxy Theater. The city does
budget with your feedback each year for matching grant fund. This is a request for this quarter for Roxy. They have received donations, and the city would like to match those, and it will go towards programming such as Camp Roxy, and staff does recommend approval.
Thank you, Ms. Sweezy. Do we have any other comments on item number 10, or what's the will of the body?
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 10. Further discussion? Roll call.
Carlyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 10 passes. Item number 11.
Consider approval to purchase security cameras, servers, software, and installation from Digi Security Systems off of state contract for 3 facilities: Animal Shelter, Swim and Fitness Center, and Fleet Central Garage, in the total amount of $88,758.56, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Cummings.
Mayor, Council, thank you. This is to expand a system that we have in place at several facilities to Animal Shelter and Swim and Fitness, and also to add some cameras at Fleet. It provides for safety and security and reduces our liability. And if somebody breaks in like they have done at the Swim and Fitness Center, then hopefully we can capture faces and deter that. This is budgeted. I just need the council's permission to go ahead and execute the contract, or execute the order.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Do we have any questions on item number 11? What is the pleasure of the body?
Move for approval.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second on item number 11. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Carlyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 11 passes. Item number 12.
Consider approval of an interlocal agreement between the City of Muskogee and the Board of County Commissioners for Muskogee County for water and sewer improvements in the John T. Griffin Industrial Park in the amount of $651,800, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. You may remember our very first allocation of American Rescue Plan funds was for this project. We agreed to split the costs of improvement of water and sewer lines out in John T. Griffin Industrial Park with the county. So what we have is an interlocal agreement that spells out how those costs will be split. Mr. Tucker has done us a great service of preparing that. The county has voted on it and approved it. And so this will allow us to get the money from the county. You all have already approved the hiring of the company to go ahead and start building it, and so we'd like to get the money from the county and get that project underway. So that's what you have before you, is the interlocal agreement to allow us and the county to work together to pay for that project. We'd be happy to answer any questions, and we do recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do we have any questions on item 12, or the will of the body is to move or deny?
I just had a quick question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Is the county portion the same as the cities? Is it a 50-50 split, or what is it?
It is a 50-50 split of the engineer's estimate, which is what we did about a year ago. It's going to cost a little bit more, so we're going to have to probably come up with the additional. The interlocal agreement said 50-50 split up to that estimated dollar amount. We're going to end up chipping in probably a little bit more than them just to make it happen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Further questions? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 12. Roll call.
Carlyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 12 passes. Item number 13.
Receive report and discuss proposed changes to City Council Policy 7-1 and accompanying purchasing manual, and provide direction to staff.
Mr. Miller.
Yes, Mayor, members of council, last month we had some discussions about the purchasing policy and the need to possibly modernize it. It has been 10 years since there's been any amendments whatsoever, and we've really run into some issues where things are made inefficient by our purchasing policy. Last week, or a couple weeks ago, we found out we couldn't really buy a vehicle under the current policy. It was just not feasible. We have a lot of projects that fall into the $25,000 to $50,000 range. So if a project costs $26,000, it's going to take an extra 6 weeks to do it versus if it costs $24,000. And so over time, just because of council meetings and approvals and sealed bids and all the things that are required, $25,000 was a number that made sense, in the past, but it may not currently, given those situations. That was really the number one recommendation from staff. We've had discussions over the last month. I do have Dennis Reed, our treasurer, and Benita Hotima, our financial analyst, here to help walk through the major changes. But this is, again, proposed for discussion, not asking for adoption today. But you guys asked us to put this together last month for review this month, and this is what we've come forward with.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Mr. Miller said, we were tasked with updating that purchasing policy. Over the last few weeks, we've done our best to present something for you tonight. So we looked at it as a whole and what was really restricting us. Some of the main restrictions were department head level. They could only approve up to $1,000 without essentially just going out and spending more than $1,000 without getting 3 quotes. And right now the state allows you to do that up to almost $25,000. We're only asking to go up to $5,000. Basically, department head needs something, they can go and here in town, and without receiving those 3 quotes, spend up to $5,000. That's well within state guidelines. So that's our first main change. The second main change is we want to change the that sealed bid limit from $25,000 to $50,000. Like Mr. Miller said, there's a lot of projects that fall within that $50,000 range that we can get done in a more timely manner. And at the same time, changing that $50,000 limit would want to change the city manager's approval limit to $50,000. So that would help increase the timeliness of getting projects and products ordered. Let's see. And there was just some small things that weren't in the current purchasing manual, because over time we use credit cards. We didn't have a credit card policy in there, so the credit card policy will be the same as far as issuing a purchase order. They can use their credit card to make those purchases. Travel policy was a little dated as far as per diem rates. There was hard-coded amounts for food reimbursement, so we'll change that to GSA rates. That way our employees are getting the correct reimbursement that they deserve when they go out and have travel for meetings and whatnot. And then another main change is removing verbal quotes. This way we know for sure that quotes are received properly, so we'll have them either electronic or written quotes. Those are the main changes that we're looking to make right now. Of course, looking for feedback, level of comfort of those changes that you all can agree with.
One of the things I would like to see before we go into a final approval is where do we stand with this policy compared to what other cities are doing? So what are their limits and what are their standards? I'd like to see that before we, when we get to the final phase of this. Those would be my concerns. Okay. Any other concerns from the council?
Yes, I have a little bit of something I'd like to point out. When, through our MRA, set up with the Civic Center, when the Civic Center needs to order their products for beer and alcohol, they're not able to pay for those products on hand. When they're brought in, they need to be able to pay for them immediately. The liquor companies and the distributors, it is illegal for them to drop off product and not take payment. The way that we're set up, we are getting product and then trying to send payment in 7 days. we're either asking people to break the law, or we're breaking the law, or we're breaking policy. We need to figure out a way where we can do direct withdrawal, because most of the liquor companies especially are moving to where that is their only option. Most of them are not taking a handwritten check, and most of them, you know, you have, by law, they have to do it then. And so we're backwards in where we are right now. So as we're trying to change that around, could you make sure we're addressing that as well?
Yes, we have worked with Mr. Cruz here lately. He's been able to get us maybe an invoice the same day of knowing what he's got coming in. We've been issuing the checks the same day. I've actually issued checks that we could handwrite. So he is able to make those checks, write the checks on point of delivery. And then he has voiced some concerns today about trying to get some ACH direct, and I've pointed him in the right direction, seeing if we can make those ACH debits payments to those vendors ourselves versus them pulling the money out. So,
I will say this: the way those are processed, because I have to use them as well, they're several days in arrears. So you may get the liquor order today, but they don't zap the money today. They'll more than likely be 4 or 5 days, if not a week out. So if there was an issue or a discrepancy in the amount, you would be able to stop payment or do something, or hopefully work out any problem beforehand.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller or Mr. Reed? Do we have direction, at least for the time being, for them to finish their work? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 14.
Consider approval to correct the staggering of terms for commissioners of the Urban Renewal Authority as follows. Ward 4 term commencing upon appointment and expiring on August 31, 2025. Ward 3 term commencing upon appointment and expiring on August 31, 2025. Ward 2 term commencing upon appointment and expiring August 31, 2024. Ward 1 term commencing upon appointment and expiring August 31, 2025, and at-large term commencing upon appointment and expiring August 31, 2023, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Tucker.
Mayor, members of the council, as you all well know, at the last meeting, you asked me to come up with a plan to stagger the terms of the members of the Urban Renewal Authority. When the Urban Renewal Authority was initially created in 2011, both state law and the city ordinance at the time had the members set up for an initial term, and then any renewal of the term would be for 3 years, and this would stagger all of the members. So, for example, initially the Ward 4 member would be for a 2-year term, as would Ward 3. The ward member from Ward 2 and Wards 1 would be a 1-year term, and then the at-large member would be a 3-year term. And so initially, those were the appointments that were made by the council at the time back in 2011. And through the process that we had at the time, the mayor made the appointments for a good few years moving down that line, and then the process changed and the council adopted the uniform appointment process whereby each member of the council received the right to make an appointment subject to council approval. So through those changes, the terms currently served by the members of the authority became unstaggered. And so currently, we have all 5 members of the council who are expired or otherwise unable to serve. And so 4 of those expired by the terms that they were appointed by, and then 1 member of the Urban Renewal Authority cannot continue to serve due to the prohibition against dual office holding. And so we have all 5 members of the authority that have expired at the same time. So you all asked me to figure out a way to get them staggered so that we didn't have this problem again. And so what I did was went back from the time that the Urban Renewal Authority was established, and I tracked the terms by what each member was supposed to have served by ordinance, and then compared it with the actual term, which ended when that person was replaced. My worksheet for that is attached to the back of the agenda item for your review. And so effectively what you'll see is that when a number of members who were appointed, they were not replaced sometimes between 2 and 8 years of the terms that they were actually appointed in. And so where we're at now is we have terms that would have all began in September, in most cases of 22, but in some cases in 20 and 21, with all terms expiring in on August 31st, and that is by ordinance. So what we have left now, for example, is Ward 1. That term would be effective as soon as the council member for Ward 4 makes that appointment, and that position would expire 8/31 of 25, and that is as close to a 3-year term as practicable. In Ward 3, there is a 2-year term, which is what as there's a 3-year term, which is what's left there, and that would also expire 8/31 of 2025. In Ward 2, there is a 2-year term that is left on that, and that would be effective upon appointment and expire 8/31 of 2024. And then the council member for Ward 1 appointee would serve until 2025, and that would effectively be a 3-year term. And then finally, the last position, which is an at-large member, that term would be would be appointed until 8/31 of 2023. So what we would have is 3 members who would expire in 2025, 1 member that would expire in 2023, and 1 member that would expire in 2024, thereby staggering those terms so that not everyone expired and came off the board at the same time. The unfortunate fact of the matter is, since all members are currently expired, there is no way in either the ordinance or the state statute from when it derives to be able to extend those terms. As you all know, we have a charter prohibition that prohibits us from reappointing anyone to any council position, board, or commission where they haven't set off for a year. And so because the because of that prohibition with the charter, compared with the state law, which says the term shall be 3 years, we didn't have much choice in determining which is the best method of getting those terms staggered. And so that is what my findings have been, and my recommendation from you all to move forward to get those terms to be staggered in the future is before you today. I am happy to answer any questions, but I do recommend approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Do we have any questions on item number 14, or what is the pleasure of the body?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Reynolds.
Roy, at the Batfish, we have something on that board where if your term expires, you can continue to serve at the leisure of the board until you can be replaced.
That's state law, so that is true. That's how many of these folks ended up serving like 8 terms or 8 years. Yeah, so that is true.
Can that not just be utilized?
Unofficially, yes. I mean, you don't have to make appointments, but that's how we got to the point we're at now, where the terms ended up all expiring at the same time. But let's say, for example, on Ward 3, where we have the appointment that is supposed to expire 8/31 of 2025. So currently, well, that's a bad example because Ms. Boyata Craig is serving on that one. But let's talk about Ward 2. So that position is by former Deputy Mayor James Gully, who has no dual office holding now that he's not serving as Deputy Mayor. So his term, if you all approve this process, would expire immediately and then would be replaced for someone new to serve until 8/31 of 2024. So the council member for Ward 1 doesn't have to make an appointment. There's nothing that compels them. And until they do, Commissioner Gully would serve until he is replaced. So he could effectively, if the council member for Ward 2 decided not to make an appointment for another 2 years, then Commissioner Gully would continue to serve.
Mr. Roy, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Now, didn't you say that the council has to make the appointment or they lose it? 30 days, is that the rule?
That is that is correct. That is within the Uniform appointment process, and it goes then. So if that appointment, for example, is with Mr. Reynolds. So if Mr. Reynolds decided not to make that appointment within 30 days, then it would pass to the next member, which in this case would be Counselor Stout, because it has to be a Ward 2 appointment. And then she would have 30 days to make that appointment.
What happens if she doesn't make the appointment?
Well, we'd be in the same quagmire that we're in now.
Yeah.
So
There would be no sense in
yeah.
Approving this policy if we're not
Right.
going to make appointments.
Now, the law states, state and your code states that the appointment is 3 years and they have to come off this board. How are we sitting up here talking about there's a possibility that the council don't make appointment and they stay? We are therefore not being responsible to do what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to be holding these board seats. We're supposed to be going by the guidelines and the state rule. That is the law. State law trumps municipality law. And I would think it would be unlawful for this council to sit here and ignore the fact of what is written by law. It's right here in black and white.
Further discussion on the policy being presented on tonight, item number 14, or what is the will of the body?
I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 14. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Carlyn Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, item number 14 passes. Item number 15.
Discuss and take action to amend Council Policy 1-11 entitled Providing a Category of Actual and Necessary Expenses Deemed Approved in Advance for City Council Members and Procedures for Presentation and Reimbursement of Claims to permit council members to elect to receive a monthly self-stipend.
Councilor McGee.
That's my item. I'm just under the impression that when this first took place that we would automatically receive the $75 stipend. And I just like to give the option for those who do not use that process where you're filling out turning in a bunch of papers if you don't need it. And if you're, you have an option, and that's the only thing that I'm saying. And I move for approval.
We have a motion on item number 15. Do we have a second or further discussion on that item?
I'll second it.
We have a second, motion and a second on item number 15. Further discussion?
One thing, Mayor, I do want to point out is with this policy, it does not change the effective date. It only amends it. So as a result, council members could make a claim for that $75 cell phone stipend back to July 1, which is the beginning of the fiscal year. So just for purposes of clarity, if you didn't submit a claim for that, you could back to July 1, since the effective date of this policy was predated that.
And this, for clarity, also is an either-or provision.
Correct.
So those who desire to turn in their receipts or mileage can do that, or they can elect to do the $75.
Right.
For cell phones.
For cell phones, yes.
Cell phones.
Yes.
Roy, I'm kind of confused on the either-or option.
Okay.
We changed this to be more transparent in going down this process. We turning in receipts. With the receipts being turned in, we're reimbursed. And I thought, as counselors, we couldn't set a stipend amount, because if that would have been the case, we would have set, a higher stipend amount, because, we were saying that the cost of the phones had gone up. I'm just not in agreements with going backwards and, saying if you don't want to fill out the paperwork, then, we'll just take a stipend. Because I thought that's what we were trying to do, is to be more transparent and to go to the receipt process. And I think that's been working out very well. And, I believe that our citizens owe us to show receipts and what we're claiming for, rather than just, I don't know. I thought that that's where we were heading when we went this route.
And that was the discussion at the time when this policy was done. However, the policy allowing the $75 cell phone reimbursement was the one that originated before that one. So we've effectively combined the original allowance of $75 with the new one and given council members the option to select which one they want to do as it relates to cell phones. So, for example, the categories are internet, telephone, cell phone, and mileage. So a council member could submit bills for internet and telephone and mileage and elect, instead of submitting the bill for a cell phone, to just get the flat $75 stipend.
Okay, that's the part that I mean, once again, actual and necessary expenses is what we're supposed to be covering and going this route. I didn't sign up to get a stipend for anything that I do as a council person. And so, I just feel that this is taking us a step backwards. I'm sorry, that's just, I think this is defeating what we said when we originally went here just a couple of months ago.
That's why it's an option. If you choose to do paperwork, just do your paperwork. But I think that when Ivory Van had this in mind, it's because Ivory Van was the one that really went out to the field. And so he was doing a lot of juggling and moving and going around. So that's why he was, and he wanted the range suit. I mean, that's what he was bringing it for. He didn't do it for transparency.
No, I mean, I'm just saying actual necessary expenses is what, I see in this thing that we're addressing as actual necessary expenses. And I mean, it wasn't if you travel. I don't claim my travel. I don't claim travel. Yeah. In my expenses, I just think there's a way that we can get what we need to get our jobs done by going the process that I think this is just taking us backwards. Mm-hmm. I mean, but it's a motion and a second on the floor. I just kind of that just kind of puzzles me.
I think when I did the research, Derek, it was a 5 to 4. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 council people up here that doesn't do that, and there's 5 that does. So that's why I thought the option would give us just an option. Okay. You can do either one.
And Roy, did I hear you say we cannot turn in expense reports any further than July 1st of this year?
Correct. Because when the fiscal year ended on June 30th, then we had 90 days for all claims to be submitted, or they're barred by statute. And so that closed September 30th. And so then we go to the new fiscal year, which is July 1 of 2022. And so that's as far back as you can make any claims against the city.
I just want to say this too, and it wasn't clear that we were changing. I thought automatically you just still get you the $75. I had no idea that you had to do paperwork. Once again, the lack of communication, therefore there's no understanding. I didn't know. It was months later. All of a sudden I said, oh, I ain't got my $75. Check from Tammy. She said, oh, no, you got to go fill this paperwork out. And so I'm just saying, no one's saying no clarification is all I'm saying. So thank you.
And so,
some choose to do paperwork, some don't.
Yes.
So just for clarity, so those who made the motion in a second understand, we're talking about the cell phone allotment only. Mr. Tucker.
That's correct.
That would be an either or option for the cell phone allotment. So those who elect to be reimbursed by a cell phone, if you get the stipend, you also get a 1099 with that. If you get an actual expense, which is a reimbursement, you don't. And so you have an either or option if this passes on tonight. Dennis is out there shaking his head. You want to come to the microphone?
Regardless, over I think it might be 600 or 900, you can get 1099 regardless.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Whether you turn an expense report or it's automatic. I gotta clarify the dollar amount, but
$600.
600.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's a reimbursement.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're being taxed on what we spent.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So it won't matter.
Don't matter.
Just some do paperwork, some don't want to.
I think we need to review that.
I think so too.
I don't think that's correct. Nothing personal. If I'm being reimbursed for my travel expenses, I should not be taxed for what I spent, dollar for dollar. If I'm getting a flat stipend that's almost like a salary, then yes, I should be getting a 1099. I'm just saying.
I agree. I agree.
yeah.
Because those are actual expenses that were incurred by an individual.
All the
But
years
a
I worked for.
flat
Go ahead.
stipend, yes,
Go ahead.
all the years that I've worked in corporate America, your actual expenses were never taxed. You didn't get a 1099 on actual expenses.
So, Mr. Mayor, we'll continue to look at that.
Yep.
So I think we should table this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can get further details and get that back to you. Regardless of that's a little bit off the topic of the actual agenda item. So we wanted to make sure that we'll definitely look at that and get all the citations and all the sources that we're using to make those sorts of decisions and get those to you in a relatively short amount of time.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the actual item, which is an either or provision for being reimbursed for cell phone expenses. Further discussion. Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig,
No.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Jones,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
No.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
No.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Passes.
The item passes. Item number 15. I'm sorry, 16.
Consider approval of the appointment of Lori Thompson to the Street Improvement Advisory Board, filling the unexpired term of David Jones beginning October 1, 2022, and ending on September 30, 2025, or take other necessary action.
Ms. McGee.
Yes, Mayor, that is my appointment, and I think Lori will be a great asset to the street committee, so I move for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 17.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the pending tort claim of Carolyn and Kobe Green, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
We will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Roll call.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now convene into executive session. Those who are not party to the session, please excuse yourself from the chamber at this time. We will now return from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout. Here. Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
Perlin Boyati Craig.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Pursuant to Section, this is item 17A, pursuant to Section 307B2, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss ongoing negotiations with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local Number 2465. After being briefed on the status of those ongoing negotiations, no action is necessary at this time. However, staff was given direction to prepare information as requested by council for further discussion at a later time. Item 17B, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the council did convene an executive session to discuss the pending tort claim of Carolyn and Kobe Green. After being briefed on the status of that claim, I think an appropriate motion would be to authorize the city attorney to negotiate a settlement with the Greens within the range discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion to that effect?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on that item. Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. we got-
One thing, Mayor, I do want to,
Tucker.
before you recess the meeting, I would like to request that the council give another motion, and that if we are able to settle that, then we have authority to file a friendly suit to be able to pay the claim.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. That concludes that meeting. We will now call to order the special call meeting for Muskogee Redevelopment Authority for October 24th, 2022. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Here.
Item number 1.
Consider approval of minutes of September 8th, 2022, or take other necessary
I
action.
believe the minutes are in our packets. Do we have any revisions to the minutes or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the minutes. Further discussion? Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 1 passes. Item number 2.
Discuss and take action to develop a plan to review, select, and conduct interviews of candidates for the position of Economic Development Director.
This is my item to members of the Muskogee Redevelopment Authority. My recommendation, we have several applications that have come in. My recommendation is, 1, that each application package be provided in a way where each counselor or members of the Redevelopment Authority has an opportunity to see those resumes that have been submitted. And then secondly, that Mr. Garvin, in his capacity as the former person who served in that position, be directed to rate and rank those candidates in order of most qualified to least qualified, and that we will review that list and begin the process at that time to schedule interviews so that we can decide who our next economic development director would be. And that would be my suggestion and recommendation to the body on tonight so that we can move forward with that process.
I like that idea.
I do
Second. Is that your motion?
Yes?
Second.
Mayor, one thing, if I may inquire, as the person who has been forwarded those applications, we have received some requests from the applicants as to what the timeline would be. Is there any information that we want to include, and when we can tell them if they are selected, they should be expecting a call? Is it within 30 days? Is it within 2 weeks? And it's fine if not, but just any information that I can pass along to them to make sure that the MRA does not lose any good qualified applicants.
Mr. Garvin, how long will it take for you to rate and rank?
I understand there's about 40 applications. Give me a couple of weeks to go through, and it's like to do a good review of each of them.
I think we're safe to say within the next 30 to 45 days we'll be able to make a decision.
Make a decision or conduct interviews.
Council, how fast do you think we can
Probably conduct.
Conduct interviews.
Okay.
conduct interviews?
All right.
There may not be a proper candidate in all of them.
Thank you. Further discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Perlin Boyotti Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 2 passes. Item number 3.
consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. A, pursuant to Section 307 C11, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to economic development within the urban renewal project area in the northwest quadrant of the city of Muskogee, including the possibility of developing a proposal to entice a business to relocate to the city, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session. B, pursuant to Section 307 C11, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to an economic development project for housing within the northwest quadrant of the city of Muskogee, including the possibility of developing a proposal to entice a business to relocate to the city, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go into executive session. Roll call.
Pearlie Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Yes.
Tracy Hoos. Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, we will now convene into executive session. Those who are not party to the session, please excuse yourselves at this time.
McIntyre, nursing home right there.
We will now reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Jones.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos. Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here.
Pearlie Boyati Craig.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Item 3A, pursuant to Section 307 C11, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the MRA did convene an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to economic development within the urban renewal project area within the northwest quadrant of the city. After being briefed on the status of that project, I think an appropriate motion would be to authorize staff to negotiate and bring back a proposal to entice the developer as discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Pearlie Boyati Craig.
Yes.
Shirley Hilton Flannery. Shirley Hilton Flannery.
Here. Yes.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Jones.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Mr. Tucker.
Item 3B, pursuant to Section 307 C11, Title 25, the MRA did convene an executive session to discuss matters pertaining to economic development for housing within the northwest quadrant of the city. After being briefed on the status of a particular proposal, no motion is needed. However, staff was directed to communicate with the proposed developer, identified in executive session, to obtain additional information needed to determine the scope of the proposal.
Thank you. That was our final item for the evening. We are now adjourned.